Hey, take two. Good morning, Steffi here from She Can. This is the day before International Women's Day, and I'm very excited to go live with my really dear friend Anna Barez Brown, who is the founder of We Are Shine, who ignite equity in business by giving women and men the tools to play a bigger game. So hold on, we're going to connect to her. Hopefully she's gonna fly in a second. I'm so excited to talk to Anna because not only is she a really dear friend and we've been in each other's lives for more than 30 years, but she's also worked for gender equality and to advance that in companies for a very long time. She worked with more than 20,000 women around the world. She is and has been making an enormous difference. Her workshops, Ali.
Hello. Oh God, I'm so excited talking to you.
I am just singing your praises, and
What are you saying, darling? What are you saying? Only good things, I hope.
you're a trailblazer.
Since a long time. I'm a trailblazer since 2008. So,
Exactly.
you know, yeah.
I
So
love
I'm very excited about this and about International Women's Day and about accelerating action. I mean, we try to accelerate action all year.
exactly.
But I think we definitely need to do more, and I think we definitely need to include the guys. And yeah. So where do we start? Where do we
Why
start?
don't you tell people a little bit what We Are Shine does? Because I've been explaining it, and but it's always best to come and say it in your own words. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about your learnings, what's happening right
What's
now, and
happening in the world?
exactly.
Yeah, so what we are doing since a long time is to try more women to try to get more women to the top of businesses. And we have, lots of global clients that we work with in partnership and learning a lot from each other and doing that quite successfully. Is it slow, the progress? Yes, because you're changing the system, you're changing society. And, I think, we are having already made a lot of progress. So, we keep doing that and we love doing it. And what we really give women, because you said to me, what have we learned and what I think we give them confidence, to really go, for what they want to achieve in life, also helping them setting these really important boundaries, having courageous conversation, using radical candor, and lots of tools where they will get clarity, confidence, and connection with others.
Yeah.
And this year, my clients, because of everything what's happening, say,
Mm.
can we not be more inclusive? Can we not get their male colleagues in the room as well? And we did a pilot last year with a Spanish bank, and it was amazing because, I could really see that what we normally create with women, having that safe space where we can take our masks down, where we can really be vulnerable, really be who we are and talk about everything we normally don't dare to talk about. That was working very well in a mixed space. And I felt a strong desire to do exactly the same, with our male colleagues and also with men and women or women and women or men and men. And there is a lot of things we have made up, I think, in the last 10 years about the different genders that is actually maybe not as rigid as we thought it is. So I think what we need to accelerate action is tap into that space of being open, listening, and not listening to respond, but listening to understand, listening to maybe influence, but really understand each other, using a lot of empathy, using a lot of really trying to understand the other person and what they need. And by opening up these genuine conversation in the room, what we normally do with women, which is the space I love, if we manage to do that with men and women, I think we will accelerate action. At least that's my hope.
Yeah. Annalie, so why don't we talk about you deliver workshops
Yeah.
across the world for whoever the client is. You have a certain methodology. You've done it historically for women. You're taking the men into the mix now. I am so excited to hear that these outcomes are even better, right?
Hmm.
Because we all know that we need to collaborate to accelerate. And oh gosh, there's so many people I need to wave to all the time that are flying
Who
into
is there? Who is
Zoom.
there? Who's listening to us rambling about the world?
Loads of people are coming in. I love what you said about listening to understand, because this is something that we all need to learn. We need to actively listen to understand, and not just having the bottom line always in thinking about the bottom line, but really about understanding who are the people and what do they need to succeed. And so, what do you feel, Anna, is what are the changes you see? We see a huge backlash against diversity, equity, and inclusion around the world, especially in America. But this is really not just an American issue any longer. I've been hearing from lots of friends and women I interviewed in Europe and in the UK that this has a backlash also here. What does it mean for you? What does it mean for you to work under conditions that are very different to only a couple of months ago? What does it mean for you? I mean, it means, I know what it means to me. It has really supercharged my mission, right? I started something a couple of years ago and it seemed so clear, and now really it has rocket fuel. It really is supercharged. I feel like we have so much more of a bigger mission and vision than we ever have before.
I like your take. I like your take. I think I need a slice of that. Well, I've started doing this work in 2008. Yeah, so that's a long time ago, and DE&I wasn't even on the arena. So when it came on the arena, I loved it because I thought, oh my God, the corporate world is waking up to this, and they're making, my mission was always to make business more human, because I love business, but I think in order to succeed, we need to be allowed to bring all of ourselves to work. We need to be allowed to be vulnerable. We need to have diversity. We need to have a good mixture, so when that, happened, I was like, wow, I mean, we're really going in the right direction. Everybody has understood the message now. We're doing it and we're loving it. And I obviously my clients are the people who are implementing all of that.
Yeah.
And it is a really hard job.
Yeah.
You're having this machine, this tanker of an organization, that suddenly you need to change the gear, suddenly you need to put something in there. It is really, really hard, and it's really, really slow,
Mm.
because you're changing a system that has been there for, I don't know, 50 years, and you're suddenly changing things. And I'm sure we made a lot of mistakes. I think there was a lot of blaming, there was a lot of shaming, there was a lot of complaining, which is maybe not the way to go about it, and I think there was maybe a little bit of mistakes in enrollment, including myself. I was kind of saying, "Oh, let's work with the women," and then I said, "Let's bring the man in," and my client said, "No, no, no, let's just do the women again," and I said, "Okay." But I mean, we need to bring the man in, obviously, and that's what we are doing this year. And I think that what annoys me the most of all of that is that we haven't even reaped the rewards of
Mm.
DE&I yet. Yeah. So this whole notion of, oh, it's done now and you are now privileged too and it's over, is actually not true. Yeah. So all the whole, all the strategies that were implemented, all the wonderful things, that, were done, haven't really played out yet for the underprivileged, which is why I get really annoyed, when people say it's done, because it's not done. It's just starting to work. We're just changing slowly, and it's not done, and it won't be done. And luckily, I have enough clients who say we are sticking to our policies. We believe in the business case that clearly is behind DE&I. More diversity is good for you. More inclusion as well. Equity is also important, as
Lucrative.
we know. Say again.
It's lucrative, right?
It's
There's a
absolutely lucrative. Yeah, you will ultimately make more money. You will have a better performance. You will have higher retention, and you will have more creativities. Now, you know that I work with advertising clients since a long time, big advertising networks. And I'm flabbergasted by creative teams still being totally dominated by men. And I love the men who work in them, don't get me wrong. But if we all know, and I might get the percentage wrong because I'm not good with numbers, but I think it's like, almost 80% of the purchasing power is in the hands of women. They decide what is being bought for the household, not in my household, but But you cannot then have only men designing these campaigns for the women who are supposed to make the decision to buy the product. I mean, that's just a non-brainer, So there are so many non-brainers. There are so many business cases behind it, and people much more clever than you and me have analyzed that and have put it out there and have made reports. I mean, we know them all. I mean, I'm almost a bit bored that I have to explain the business case again, but there is a business case. And, I can see with my clients achieving their goals that they are having, better results. So, it's a bit like, wow, I didn't know I had to explain that again.
yeah.
But we
I
will
really want.
march on. Sorry, I didn't answer your question. So we will march on, and we will also make, I mean, my clients will just call it differently, but will still go on and do what they want to do, So, yeah, I mean, it's not stopping, it's going nowhere. I mean, I have a lot of workshops to run this year and hopefully next year. But
Mm.
what we do, as I said, is now including the male population, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, and you've been saying it for so long,
I
Anna. I
know. I
talked to you
know.
about it so many years ago that this is no news to you. You have been trying to sell this concept to your clients for many years. And I also think you're often ahead of your time because when you set up Shine for Women in 2013, as you said, the DEI wasn't really on the map yet. And so I think you're definitely a trailblazer who thinks of things before your time and then you grow with the times. And the other thing I wanted to say, and the business case, which the two of us discuss so often, the data points are so overwhelmingly in favor of having a diverse workforce. And that's not just men and women, that's neurodiversity, that's bringing all the diversity things into a team because everybody brings something else to the table. And that ultimately makes a company stronger and more lucrative. And that should be, the aim of the game. Annalie, what do you why do you feel we're here in this situation now where we see such a huge backlash? Where do you think things went wrong?
We didn't involve the people in power enough. Yeah, we
Mm.
definitely didn't, and as I said before, there was a lot of shaming, a lot of blaming. I mean, you know it yourself when you go to an unconscious bias workshop, you suddenly go, oh my God, I have so much unconscious bias. If you go to a workshop around privilege and status, you go, oh my God, I mean, it made us often, it increased our
Yeah,
awareness, but then there was sometimes, so where do I go now? What do I do with it? So at least that's how I felt, so I think we just need to really work on there needs to be more collaboration, there needs to be more enrollment, we need to do this together, and we need to do it in the right way. But sometimes that's how it is in history, that there's first a lot of blaming and a lot of shaming, and and then it
yeah,
changes. But it's a tricky time, and people are looking for answers, they're looking for security, they're looking for feeling good about themselves again, and that is really happening in the world, that a lot of weird things are happening. And I don't want to go into politics, I'm not a politician, and I certainly am not knowledgeable enough to explain all of that, but I think that's one of the reasons why certain notions go up and down, because people just want to feel good again, strong again, and do the right thing.
yeah. Annalie, the other thing that we often talk about is the next generation, right? The next
Yeah.
generation. And you have two children and I have three, for which reason it is even more important to stick with what we're doing because we put children into this world. And the thing that always flabbergasts me is that how do we think, if we do not support women, how do we think the next generation will be resilient and strong and able and confident to do all the things that they need to be doing, solve all the issues they need to solve. So I always think how, that doesn't work. We have to listen to women. We have to listen to what they need to succeed, because ultimately we disproportionately raise the next generations. We birth them and we raise them. And you always say, and the next generation will not want to work for a company that doesn't have
No.
these really good frameworks in place where they are heard and seen.
Well, I am in awe of the next generation, and we both have daughters who are also very good friends, and I'm just amazed, how they show up, how they are with each other, what
Mm,
they talk about, what they know. I mean, yes, there is a bit of overwhelm, with the generation of our kids who were the first ones really with the phone from 13, but I think they are already doing things so much better. They're so much more aware. They know so much more about the world. They also know what's right or wrong. They really say, that is what I like about you, but that is what I don't want to be.
mm,
So I'm in awe of them. The only thing is, I would like to have less fear. I would like to have, I mean, you said to me the other day, what do you wish for them? And I just think you need to put yourself out there. You need to try lots of things and don't be scared of making mistakes, because we can't really advise them anymore, because we grew up in a very different world. But, just go out there, have a seat at the table, try lots of things. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Throw yourself in new experiences, and even if it's internships in a company that you don't really, just put yourself
mm,
out there and experience as much as you can to find your way. And you will study maybe the wrong thing, and you will do an internship in a company that you don't like, and but that's all part of life. So I think there is a huge expectation on this young generation to do everything right all the time. And you can't, because you change as a human being all the
mm,
time. There might be a war, next to us. Then, I mean, a really bad war, there already is a war. There might, so many things can happen. So I just think you need to be part of life. You need to be active. You need to be informed, and then you just go out there and try to do your best, a little bit like we do. But I think they have evolved. I think they know much more what they want and what they don't want. And they are, whereas we were a bit naive, we just didn't have the information, which is also a good thing because it gives you courage,
mm,
and it gives you this, self-belief to go out there and just do it. But I think they are more developed, more advanced. And what I like most of all is how they support each other. Because I must say, in the corporate world, whenever I wasn't supported, it was probably by a woman.
mm. Yep.
Yeah, so I must
Others.
admit,
Yeah,
yeah, and
absolutely.
and that will not happen anymore. I think this new generation will look after each other, and they already do,
They
and they will not.
collaborate much more.
Say
Yeah,
what?
they collaborate much more, support each other much more, and they trust their intuition much more.
I think they do. So I'm not, I mean, of course, as a mother, you're always worried, but I think they're really having good values, they're having the confidence to speak up. I mean, and yeah, I'm full of hope for the next generation. The only thing is don't let yourself be stopped by fear. Yeah, by panic, by not, saying, I don't know. It's like it doesn't matter. You don't need to know yet. Yeah, that's the thing I see a lot, and that kind of gets me down because I see that in my workshops as well.
Mm,
That there's lots of limiting beliefs. There's lots of narratives people have made up about themselves that are unhelpful. And confidence is something you just need, to really get this clarity, to get this, connection with other people, to be curious, and also get to know yourself a little bit more. I think they're doing much more self-analysis than we ever did. But also, listen to your heart and really understand, what it is you want to do in this world, and, where you can have an impact. Because I think, I mean, I've lived all my life according to my heart. I could never do anything else. And I think that's important too. Yes, there's a lot of expectations, there's a lot of advice, there's lots of things, that don't work anymore. But whatever you do, it needs to be, aligned with your heart. And that's why you need to go out there and understand, okay, that works for me, that doesn't work for me, that environment works for me. Yeah. So don't forget, your purpose, or what feels good. I don't think you know your purpose when you're 17 or 18, but at least go with what feels right.
Yeah.
Find your tribe.
Yeah. Annalise, so how do you feel can we sponsor each other more? How can we, because it's very true, and I hear this every single week, women who do not support other women. And this happens all the time. And I hear it from my husband and his company and lots of other ones. So how can we support each other more?
Well, one of my values is connection. So I need to be with others. I need to talk to people. I'm an extrovert. I get my stimulus by, listening to other people and then finding my own voice. So I think the first one is, really stay connected, network. Don't be shy to ask for help. Don't be shy to reach out. A little bit like what we are doing here now, in that world where we don't really know where our place is anymore. So I think really sticking together and supporting each other, talking to each other, and sharing, everything they know is the most important. And the whole thing of asking for help. When you ask somebody for help, they absolutely love it. Yeah. So this whole idea of I cannot ask is rubbish. You can ask anyone. If somebody asks me for help, I'm honored. And this reciprocity where you ask for help and you also receive help is the most important, I think, in life.
Mm,
And I cannot tell you how many people in my workshops, when we talk about supporters, we talk about stakeholders, we talk about asking for help, enrolling them, are finding that really difficult because they don't believe, that people want to help them. They don't believe that they can ask for help. And then we do a little fun exercise in the room where we basically see that asking for help, even in a room of 40 people, you find a lot of help because maybe the person you're talking to can't help you, but they will know somebody who can.
mm,
So this whole notion of really wanting to be there for each other and support each other, I think is super important.
yeah. And I feel that's exactly what we have to uphold the whole time. And that's how we can accelerate action, that we don't believe the narrative we're being fed. We don't need more masculinity in the workplace. We don't need to listen to everybody. We decide what stories we listen to and what we don't listen to, and what stories we tell ourselves and not tell ourselves, and how we can manage this barrage of information and media overwhelm that we get all the time. In the end, we're in the driver's seat and we decide what we listen to, what we don't listen to, the stories we tell ourselves, the stories we put out into the world, and that we have such a huge responsibility in doing that and doing it well and being aligned with ourselves.
You're right. But I also think that you need to really decide what you're listening to. I mean, some things you just have to ignore because they're just so crazy or so, I mean, some things you just, I wouldn't even go on Instagram and talk about it because it's so bizarre that you just have to say, you know what, I'm not even responding. I think it's this thing, I mean, we do a tool which is Stephen Covey, the circle of influence and control. And there's so much stuff happening in the things you can't control right now. There's so much in that space that you could literally be, and we have been, I think, in January and February, we have been sucked into that. And if you get into a negative space, if you concentrate all day on things that are not in your control, I think it's called the circle of concern. I always get that wrong. So all these things that are in the circle of concern, You need to think, okay, can I bring them into my circle of control? No. Well, then I have to let them go. Then I have to park them. Then I just cannot spend. And I have spent, when I heard all that backlash on DE&I, I was devastated. I was, oh my God, what's happening in the world? And that sucks your energy. It's not good for you. So I think right now, which is one of the reasons why I'm opening Shine up to the male population, is I think we need to explore what's inside. We need to strengthen our brand, our belief, our confidence. This is the time where you can't be all over the place. You have to be here. You have to decide, who am I? What are my values? What are my inner saboteurs? What brings me down? What is my bigger game? What do I want to play? How can I do it? Who can help me? This is useful right now. And some people call, I mean, my husband always calls Shine an accelerated coaching program. And what he means by that is not that I mean, yes, you learn how to coach others, but that's not what it is about. You do what you would do with a coach in a year in 2 days. And you also learn the tools that you desperately need to actually inspire our children, this new generation, the millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. They want an individual approach. They want to be taken seriously. They want to be able to talk about their values. That's something you need to have up your pockets as a people manager of that generation. And with my clients, I hear a lot like, God, how do we manage, Gen Z, how do we deal with those millennials, who don't want to work every night, who are very strong about their work-life balance, I mean, I take my hat up, to them, but we need tools how to motivate them, how to lead them, and that's why having those tools, having them tried out on yourself and then using them in the business is so important.
Yeah. Anna, so you've just mentioned it. The one thing you do so unbelievably well is you help people play a bigger game. Give us a couple of tips of how people can just think about it. They should obviously come into your workshops, but just give us a tiny little bit of an insight on how can you even start thinking about that? Because I know obviously very many young people who are at the beginning of their journey and they don't know that yet, and that's normal. And we only know, I always think I have late onset of that. I only understood in my 40s or even early 50s what is the bigger game that I want to play, where I feel I can make a difference and be impactful. And so, would have been quite neat if I had understood that earlier.
I think you've done amazing things in your life, Steph. So I wouldn't think you never played a bigger game. I think you always did. Bigger game is really look at your values, look at your strengths, look at your expertise or your experience, and then come from there. But what it is really all about is what you're really hungry for. What you're really yearning for. What are you yearning for? You want to make that place a better, this world a better place. You want to become incredibly rich to change the world. You want to, I mean, I don't know what you really need to understand what drives you. And that, I mean, Talk It Out, the app you can download from Chris, where you can really talk for a long time to make sense of your frazzled mind. So the way we do it, we send them out and they do a talk it out. So they talk for 7.5 minutes. I mean, ideally longer, about what they're really hungry for. And they're having somebody, helping them with the ideas, helping them with the themes that come out. And they then come back and journal on that and kind of think, and then they get all these little helpers. Okay, but what were your values and what are your strengths and what do people see in you? And out of that, they then develop a kind of book title that doesn't need to be right for you. I mean, mine was when I was still in the corporate world, having a corporate job, being a sales and marketing director of a media company. Suddenly I had this thing, I want to make the corporate world a more human place. I mean, I didn't know where that came from. I mean, it was like, what? And then from getting that theme, I decided to retrain as a coach, to become a facilitator, to set up my own company, so you do it by really understanding what you're hungry for, but it's not something you do one morning and then it's something that you write down, and then you kind of and then you reflect, and then it happens slowly. I mean, I was lucky. I got making business more human very quickly, but I had no idea what that meant at that time. So you just need to dig a little bit deeper, but it's nothing. It's fun, and you have to keep it light, and you have to be playful. It's not a serious thing. Ooh, I have to find my bigger game now, if not everything falls into pieces. It's something and you are a best example. It's something that evolves. You started interviewing women and their stories, and then you started thinking about, okay, courses, and now you're thinking about interview. It's something that happens all the time. Now you're thinking about weekend and getting more male allies. I mean, life goes on. Life will present you with so many opportunities and also threats that you constantly need to evolve.
Yeah. Which I love about you, Anna, because you have been evolving ever since I know you, which is an unbelievably long amount of time. It's more than 30 years, and we've done lots of exploring together and crazy things and courses and shaman trainings and you name it. So we've really, we're pushing the envelope because we are hungry to know and push ourselves and learn more ways of being human and of showing up in this world. And I want to honor you, Anna, because you've done an incredible amount of work and change, and you've been chasing that change both within yourself and within your purpose and work.
And
And
And it's time to now think about the next chapter. No, it's time to think about, at our age, you suddenly consciously need to decide the next chapter of your life. And I'm doing that right now. I need to think about my brand. I'm not as good as you to just go on social media or my husband, and doing lots of videos and pushing stuff out there. I'm much better in communicating like I do with you, because that's what I do in my workshops as well. I'm with people, I connect, and then, I'm inspired by that. So I think we constantly need to think about, what is the next chapter, and then consciously designing that. It's also a course I would love to do, is really, shine for midlife, consciously deciding on the next chapter, because I think you need that. We have so many chapters, you have school, and then you have university and first job, and then you have children, being a mother, where you almost go back to, I have to protect my chicks, it's very basic, it's very natural, it's not highly intellectual. And then the kids now are leaving, they're kind of finding their own, and you go, oh my God, you're an empty nester, and and you also obviously run a company or work the whole time. I mean, we constantly have to reinvent ourselves, we really do. And it's better to do it in a structural way with a little bit of help, because if not, you start ruminating, and you can easily go into a negative place. And I'm talking from experience there, when if this is not guided, if you don't have this space of maybe 2 or 3 days where you can actually do that. I mean, you know that from our shaman training, you know that we needed that safe space with our shaman to actually go into this different realm of, and that's what I feel. I mean, sometimes especially women have so many responsibilities, are holding so many spaces, that they just don't make time for themselves, and ultimately, they would be so much better off, investing a bit of time to just say, you know what, now I'm taking 3 days to just think about me and my career and who I want to be and who I don't want to be. I think that's quite important, making that
yeah,
space.
and being intentional about it. You get so much more out of it if you're intentional. You learn where you want to point your needle to then walk into that direction, find the puzzle pieces along the way that then will make this an intentional experience, which I think is what. And your Luli just joined us. Luli,
She
hi.
probably sent me 20 messages before saying, get off this Insta live. But
Anna,
this is just a chat among friends. I mean, we don't want to now, pretend that we are thought leaders in everything, but I think it's something that that is needed, these intimate chats, rather than wanting to be right, or wanting to say this is it. I don't like that black and white anymore. It's
no,
really, yeah, I find it really depressing, when it's all about I know and you don't know and this is it. And I think this is lovely and this is needed more.
I agree. And I feel like we have been there and now we are being thrown back into the black and white
We
and
are.
who's right and you're a liar and you're a liar and the constantly dividing ourselves from everything and everyone. And so really what I'm trying to do and also what you're trying to do is to find all the bridges, how we are so much more united than we are divided. Where are the bridges? Let's listen to the stories and really listen to them and find all the things where we agree, all the things where we agree to disagree. Also, that is fine. It's building grace in conversations, grace in relationships, in collaboration, because we're not always all going to agree, and that is just not a thing. And it's not all going to be harmonious the whole time either, and we need to be fine with that. But we still need to have the grace and the respect to understand other people. So we have to listen to people. And that's what I love. And that's what I love about She Can. We have so many different women from all over the world talking about their stories. And and I don't have to agree with them,
No.
right? I resonate with some things and I don't resonate with other things, and that is fine as long as we have the feeling we are more united than divided. That's the thing that I really want to get to. And that's what I think is very important going forwards, because we are so unbelievably divided over being fed this narrative that we're so divided. And so I feel called to constantly standing up and saying what I think about it so that other people think they have the permission to do the same. And I'm not a politician. I'm not, I don't have any of the things you would need in order to have really informed conversations, but I have common sense, I have life experience, I have an opinion, and I feel that I can't not say it because I can't, because the times are so charged that we need to make sure that we really said the things that we feel are important to be said.
And I admire your bravery. I really do. I admire your bravery going out, there and saying all the things. But I also believe, and it's not a but actually, that everyone is partially right. Yeah, I learned that at a course when I learned to be a systems coach. When I learned to really work with groups. There's lots of noise here, lots of dogs. And this whole thing about everyone is partially right is also something we use at Shine, as one of the agreements. And yeah, we have to think about that
Yeah.
too. We have to think about, even the people who are now saying things that we literally cannot agree with. They have a point, and that's where we need to come together. And I'm really hoping that, now opening the doors of Shine and having men and women in the room, that will automatically happen. But when we did the pilot last year with the Spanish bank, I had more men coming to me in the breaks and telling me about what they're doing with a coach, with a psychotherapist, with a course, than women, and I really didn't expect that. So the men were seeking this intimate place. The men were seeking advice
Mm.
because it's new to them. They were probably never allowed to take their masks down and be
Yes.
vulnerable, and so it was really surprising, that we had, many more males coming to us in the breaks than women. So for women, it was a bit natural, to think about yourself, to go inside, to deep, to talk about it. But they really enjoyed it. And I also think the younger generation, women are much more open to personal development and, really reflecting on themselves, which fills me with hope
Yeah,
that they allow themselves, to be vulnerable, that they allow, themselves to think a bit deeper.
yeah. Anna, what a beautiful thing to finish off. I love that. I cannot wait to talk to you when you've done more of these workshops and listen to all your learnings. To finish off, why don't you tell us what, if you could send a postcard to every human in this world with one sentence, what would that sentence be?
Oh my God. Now you're surprising me. Have I written that down? No. I think right now it's definitely hang in there and don't be scared. Don't let fear take away your courage or what you're here to do. Trust the universe that it gets better and hang in here and follow your heart. I mean, I'm a big believer of following your heart and don't give up. Don't let all of that, get to you. So that is too much. So I would probably say follow your heart ultimately and don't be scared to do that.
Annalie, thank you so much. I can't believe we talked for almost 3/4 of an hour.
Did
That
we?
was
Oh my
not
God.
was
Poor
not
people.
planned.
They will be so bored
Didn't
of
plan for
our
that.
ramble.
No, I think it was amazing. Thank you so much. Happy International
Happy
Women's Day
International Women's Day. Yeah, I
for the
really need
girls
to.
and women.
Yeah, and also accelerating action is definitely a good idea. And, even if we organize little events in our communities, or, I'm dreaming about She Can and Shine doing this massive, and I'm putting that out in the universe now, doing this event with 1,000 women and girls in the room. That's what I love, want to happen. I mean, that's what I'm seeing it, I'm absolutely seeing it, and it can be done. So if anybody is up for that, we obviously need to find a sponsor, so somebody like, I don't know, maybe maybe Lululemon, or maybe, something like that. But I see it, I just think, now that the international aid is stopping for so many women and girl programs everywhere, I think we just need to make it happen. And I see it in front of me, I just see it, but we just need to make it happen.
We're going to hold this vision and we're going to
Yeah.
get there. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yes.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank
I
you.
love you.
Bye.